Hello all, and thanks for attending this afternoon's webinar on the Mobilize Salesforce integration. This is a project that we've been working on for a while now, and are finally excited to share with you all. If you use Salesforce as your CRM, then this talk is specifically for you. Here's a quick agenda to get us oriented. I'll start by talking about Mobilize broadly, and then jump into the benefits of our new integration. Finally, I'll end with a quick demo. I'll promise to keep everything brief. But before that, here's a quick intro on me. That's me. I'm Varun, and I'm an engineer here at Mobilize. And webinars are just my side hustle. Great. So moving on. Here's a brief introduction to Mobilize for those who may not be familiar. So our purpose here at Mobilize is to connect mission-driven organizations and supporters to make the world more just, inclusive, and democratic. This is why we exist. And if that's our North Star, then these are three pillars that help us get there. First, we make recruiting your supporters more easy. This means that we provide you as an organization a suite of tools that serves as a one-stop shop for event management. Mobilize becomes a source that can funnel data into a range of other systems that you may use on a daily basis to track, manage, target, and re-engage your supporters. Moving on to the middle, we care about increasing your supporter engagement. We work tirelessly on optimizing the volunteer journey. This includes automating the tedious bits of event management like day before reminders and collecting feedback. We also rely on experimentation to deliver the best experience possible. If the magic of investing is letting your money work for you, then the magic of Mobilize is knowing that we are meticulously working behind the scenes to drive up the number of signups and donations to your cause. And lastly, the network. Mobilize comes bootstrapped with a network, which is to say that every new organization that joins Mobilize benefits from the huge set of volunteers we already have through our cross-promotion capability. Moving on, here is what I call our humble brag slide, showing you a sample of partners that we've worked with. This list spans political campaigns, nonprofits, unions, and more, and we're very proud to have worked with all of these organizations. Earlier, I had mentioned that Mobilize plays well with other tools in the ecosystem. This includes CRMs, messaging and engagement tools, data analytics, and donation capabilities. But today, we really want to zoom in on the left column, and specifically the Salesforce icon, because that is our newest integration. All right, let's talk about Salesforce. Before we get into the nitty-gritty of how our integration works, wanted to provide you all an overview of the benefits and why you should care about this integration. So there's going to be 3 points. The first point is that this integration allows you to sync data automatically from Mobilize to Salesforce. So if you're using Salesforce as your central customer view, then really what you're enabling is another data stream coming from Mobilize into your Salesforce instance, allowing that data to sit alongside the rest of your data. This all happens without any sort of human intervention. You just turn on the sync and it happens on your behalf. Number 2 is that this integration allows you to identify highly engaged supporters. So this is to say that the data that's coming from Mobilize into Salesforce is data about supporters who are actively participating in events. And we think that this is extremely rich data because this is more than, attending an event is much more effort than, clicking a button or visiting this web page. And so this is signal that these supporters are highly engaged with your organization, with your cause. And, by filtering the data and the sign-up data that's coming from Mobilize in Salesforce, you're able to more effectively target and identify these highly engaged group. Lastly, the integration is extremely easy to set up. It doesn't require any developer time, and it's enabled in just a few clicks. And with that, let's move on to the live demo portion of the webinar, where I'll be taking you through the integration live so you can see what I'm talking about. So let me go ahead and exit full screen here and take you to this window. So I'm going to approach this demo as if you've never seen or used Mobilize before. So if you have, please bear with me. So this is the dashboard section of the Mobilize interface, available to organizers and admins who manage events on Mobilize for an organization. This is not an area where volunteers come at all. So if you have Salesforce enabled for your organization, you see there's a new tab here. And on that tab, there's just a single button that says connect. So let's connect. First thing it does is take me to the login page of Salesforce. I happen to have a test account that's for the Nonprofit Success Pack, and I'm going to log in. It's going to here ask me, are you allowing the Mobilize Salesforce connector for these permissions? These permissions are necessary in order for us to send data over to Salesforce. And so I'm going to hit allow. Yes, this is a trusted party. And that's going to take me back to my dashboard. You can see that it's changed a bit since we first got here. It says my integration is disabled. Also gives me the option to disconnect. The final step here is just clicking enable. This is kind of like a faucet, a handle that you can turn on and off without disconnecting your account. So right now the tap is off, and with a simple button click, the tap goes to on. Now that the tap is on, let's go ahead and create an event and see how it makes its way from Mobilize to Salesforce. So I'm going to hit events up here. This is a screen where I see all my events, my upcoming events. I have a few past ones, and there's 4 currently in action. So I'm going to create a new one. I'm going to say it's going to be in person. And let's call it a summer donation or volunteer training. It's going to be of type training. Come learn about what it takes to be a volunteer. Pizza included. People love pizza. We'll skip some of these steps that are not required. And let's say it's going to be on the weekend from noon to 2 p.m. Actually, let's make it weekly, starting on 6/20 and ending on 7/11. So great. Let's add the times. You can see there's 4 times, 4 weekend times. And let's say it's going to happen at Starbucks. Cool. So I'm going to hit submit. Looks like the event was created successfully. And there's 4 shifts available on Saturday. So now let's go to our Salesforce, and hopefully what we should see is that event has propagated over. Now we're inside Salesforce. If we go to campaigns, aha, great. We can see that these events have now propagated to Salesforce. You'll notice a few things here. One is that each shift is its own campaign with its unique date and also unique time. Great. So now that our event is propagated from Mobilize to Salesforce, let's simulate a sign up. If we go back to our first tab here, this is what our event page looks like, our summer volunteer training page. It has the time, the location, the description, just like we configured. So now let's say we were a volunteer. Who should we be? Let's be JZ, j.z@example.com. Let's give JZ a fake phone number. And let's give JZ a zip. So JZ is going to sign up for these first 2 Saturday sessions. You can hit sign up. It's going to see these modals to share with friends, sign up for more events, donate. And if we come back to Salesforce and refresh, we should see his sign up reflected. There's 1. Let's wait a moment. Great, there's 2. So you can see that on the 620 shift and the 627 shift, there's 1 attendee and 1 attendee. That reflects JZ. And if you head to contacts, you can see that he's there. His name, his phone, his email, his zip. And if you click into his name, you can see his campaign history, which is basically this contacts link with the campaign, which happens to be a shift in this case. You can also see his registration status. So he's registered, and these statuses are the same between Mobilize and Salesforce, which is really handy when you are trying to filter and sort. One thing I forgot to mention earlier is if we go back to campaign, these 4 shifts, and anything coming from Mobilize for that matter, in terms of events, event data, it has this type Mobilize event, which is really handy because it means that you don't have to worry about these rows interfering with your other campaign data. You can simply filter if you want to remove Mobilize data, or basically it allows you to segment this group if you want to. And that's it. So at this point, we've gotten an event and its shifts to propagate from Mobilize to Salesforce, and same with a sign up. So to conclude, let's just do 2 or 3 more actions that are very common in an event's lifecycle to see how they fare in this integration. So 1, let's go ahead and create another sign up just to show you. Beyonce is going to sign up. So Beyonce at example.com. Let's again create a fake phone number. And Beyonce is going to go for the middle 2 shifts. Just going to sign up. Great. We'll go to Salesforce at the end. But in the meantime, let's do some other things. All right, so here I am back on the shift view of my event. So I've zoomed into the specific Saturday shift on 7/4, and as expected, because she just signed up, Beyonce is marked as registered. So now let's go ahead and say that something's happened down the line and Beyonce is no longer able to come. So I'm going to hit this as an organizer and say canceled so I can keep track of that. And let's go back to Salesforce, refresh. First of all, looks good that it looks like Beyonce's signups were propagated over. So that's great. And let's zoom into the 7/4 shift. We click into it and we can see that indeed Beyonce's attendance status has also made it over to the Salesforce instance, which is awesome. This means that any status that lives in Mobilize is also available in Salesforce. And to prove that, you can see if I manually edit in Salesforce, there's all the Mobilize statuses here. We have registered, canceled, confirmed, no-show, and completed, which are all Mobilize statuses as well. The final thing I'm going to do here is just to show you what happens when an event is canceled altogether. So I'm back on Mobilize. Let me click on this summer volunteer training that we've been working with, and I'm just going to go ahead and delete the event. Turns out we weren't able to do it after all. And let's go ahead and do that. Let's notify attendees of the event cancellation. And let's hit delete. So it's no longer in my list. And let's see what happens over here. If we, again, hit campaigns, takes a moment. Takes a few refreshes sometimes. Here you go, you can see one of them. Two of them. Alright, basically this is going to happen in the next few seconds, but you can see here that each of the 4 shifts still lives in Salesforce, but is prepended with this uppercase canceled, just so that it lives on. It's not permanently deleted. You can go ahead and delete it into Salesforce if you want, but all we do is mark it as canceled. So let me refresh again, and all 4 of them should be canceled at this point. And there we go. And that concludes our demo portion of this webinar. Thanks so much for following along. We basically went through the basics of setting up an event with multiple time slots, having multiple people sign up for those events, changing the attendance status of those registrants, and then finally canceling event, and seeing that those all propagate to Salesforce in the way that was shown. So going back to my deck, I'm going to conclude on this slide, which is more of an ask. And what we want is beta partners for this project. And so this integration is available today. If you're interested in it, we encourage you to reach out to support@mobilize.us. And I want to say that for more details, including complete data mappings, so you can see exactly which field on Mobilize maps to which field on Salesforce, I want to direct you to our Help Center, where we have a complete guide to show you how that's done. And with that, it's been a pleasure hosting this webinar today. Hope you learned a little bit more about Salesforce and Mobilize if you didn't know about Mobilize before, and have a great day.